Hello and welcome to my channel. The card I'm making for you today is a birthday card from my brother David. This card is really cute and I was able to create it using a new present that I got for Christmas called a brother scan and cut. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The materials that I used to create this card is the Gorgeous Grunge stamp set by Stampin' Up, the Card Crafting Happy by TPC Studios, and Surprise by KI Creations. Let me move this and show you a little bit more about this card. The pattern paper background for this card I cut down from a square, a 12 by 12 piece of paper, and this is the remainder of it. This was paper that I got from Joann's. On one side it says brother, and on the other side it says sister. Note to my sisters, you will see this again when your birthday comes near. But this is such a nice piece of paper. When you're trying to come up with a card design, it's best to make a prototype before you start cutting into your actual product and making mistakes. So in order to get a prototype, what I did was make a photocopy of this paper. I don't know why I'm insisting on holding everything upside down for you today. But I made a photocopy of this paper, and then I was able to use this paper in place of destroying my original paper. And my prototype, which you see here, I can get an idea of where I want to put everything, how I want it to look, and it would not have cost me any materials. So I highly recommend that you make a prototype for your cards before you cut into your more expensive materials. And this is just a piece of paper that I cut to the dimensions of the card, that I taped the different elements together. So making a prototype is very simple, and I highly recommend it. So let me get this out of the way and show you how to create this card. To get started, I have a piece of Bristol's smooth watercolor paper, which I'm going to use to stamp the little fella, because I'm going to watercolor and I need to have the stronger paper to hold up for this. So I'm going to start off with stamping this guy. This is a really simple design, and it goes together really quickly. But there are some elements that I'll have to do outside of the screen, and I'll explain those in a minute. So I'm making sure that I get a firm impression, because he's a big stamp, and I'm pressing really hard. And I usually don't get his little cap to press good, so I'm going to be sure I got it this time. Good, I'm happy with that. And I also have my Misty tool so that I could get this name tag stamped, because part of the name tag is very solid, and I'll be sure that I get a good impression of that. This is just plain white cardstock here, and I'm going to stamp that in red. This is Memento Ladybug Red. So I'm using my Misty tool in case it doesn't stamp correctly the first time, then I can just go right over it again, and also I can give a lot of pressure to make sure that solid area transfers really good. I'm just outside of frame here, sorry. Okay, let's see. Perfect, perfect. Okay, set that there. Move this out of the way. Now I'm going to start my watercoloring. Make a little bit of room here. These are Spectrum Noir watercolor pencils. This is the first time that I've used them. I'm not exactly sure if I am sold on them yet, but any watercolor media will do for this. Let me just take this rubber band off. Sorry, because I know that was noisy. sorry again. So I'm just going to go through and it's simple watercoloring. So you just take the pencils and you draw on them basically in the different colors. I want the red for the paint. But you're going to leave some areas blank in the center here because the watercolor effect will be enough to carry that in there. So I'm just going to go through and color this real quick, and then I'm going to go through afterwards and use the water to blend it all out. And he's all finished. Oh, I forgot to do this little paint splotch here. There. Okay, easy watercoloring. Now I'm just going to let this dry for a moment before I move on to the next step. Now that my little fella is dry, it's at this point that I would take a pair of scissors and fussy cut around him and also around my name tag. But this year I got for a Christmas present from my children a Brother scan and cut. And this will allow me to scan in this image and using the machine to cut around the outline of the little fella and his little paint splotch, and also to cut around this name tag And also it has an ability to allow me to draw on it. So I'm going to also draw my brother's name here on the name tag. And I can't bring this machine in and demonstrate it for you. That would be another video in itself. And it's rather large. It's about this big across and this big deep, and you wouldn't be able to see anything but the machine in my current setup. But there are many videos online about the Brother Scan and Cut, but even though they are all I think the earliest is maybe about a year ago, the machine videos are still applicable to the new machine that comes out now. And I'll talk more about the Brother Scan and Cut machine later. But I'm loving it so far. It allowed me to cut this guy out with a little to no trouble at all. And I was able to get lines on here. I'm sorry, I was able to make a margin on here wider than the guy, which you can see on my prototype. This cutout is a little bit wider margin than this one. You hold it up a little bit to the light, to the camera, so that you can see. There's a wider margin. But I'm able to do so many things with the machine. I just love it. But it's a bit of an expense. So I'm going to go and do these two parts on the offline, and I'll be right back. Now I have my two elements for the front of the card all cut out. Again, you could fussy cut this with a pair of sharp scissors. Just go around and carefully cut around the outline of the stamp for both of these pieces. Now it's just a matter of putting the rest of the card together. So I'm going ahead and do that now. And now my card is finished. I think it's really cute, and I hope my brother likes it. I might not be able to demonstrate my scan and cut on camera until I think of another way to do the setup, but I really love this machine. It is different than the Big Shot or the Silhouette, or it's more similar to a Cricut, I guess, but this is a very useful machine for me. And I will hope that you would do a search for the scan and cut machine. I'm hoping that it'll allow me to not have to buy dies, because if I had a die for this guy, of course I could just use my Big Shot and cut him out. But this is a standalone stamp that I got from Goodwill. It didn't come with a die. So now I'm going to save a lot of money by not having to buy dies, knock on wood. But sometimes I may still need a die and use a die, but this is going to be a real time saver. And to be able to draw directly on my stamp out, I love this, and I hope that I get a lot more use out of this stamp set. I'd like to thank you for watching my channel, and I hope you hit that subscribe button. And I'd like to thank my brother David, not only for having a birthday, which allows me to do this card for him, but also for the music that he provides to my channel. And I hope you have been enjoying it. Take care, everyone, and have a great day. Bye-bye.